Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today we're going to be reviewing the fifth entry in the Insidious franchise, Insidious, The Red Door from 2023, and this is directed by Patrick Wilson and stars Ty Simmons and Claire Daniel. This tells the story of father and son Josh and Dalton Lambert, who have had the memories of the father removed from their mind. However, 9 years later, the father starts to come back into Dalton's memory and life just as he starts college. Now, the Insidious franchise for me is a little bit hit and miss. I really enjoyed the first one when it came back out in 2010, and it was one of them few horror movies that generally terrified me. I'm not easily scared by horror movies, especially horror movies of today, but that did really creeped me out. I remember back in the day watching that one. The second one, even though it did have its moments, was a massive drop-off for me. It just felt like a bit of a cash grab sequel there. And the third one, I do feel is actually an underrated film, and Lee Winnell directed that one. He had his turn in directing there. And I do feel like it's a competent entry in this franchise that no one really talks about enough. And the fourth one for me was kind of on the same level as the second one, but all this franchise has been watchable to me and it's quite enjoyable, whether they're good or bad. So what had me intrigued about this one is that it was actually going to be a direct sequel to parts 1 and 2. But more than that, we had Patrick Wilson in the director's chair this time, who's been an integral part of this franchise, who starred in many of the films that came before it. And I just wanted to see what he could do with it. So what did I think of Insidious, The Red Door? Let's find out. And Patrick does do some nice stuff behind the camera here. It's a horror movie. As you can imagine, there are some creepy build-up scenes and tense moments before the eventual jump scare does come to us. But I thought he'd done a very competent job for a first-time director here in these moments. There was a scene with an MRI scan here, and I thought he really put that together well. No one really likes going to MRI machines anyway, but with this part of the movie, the results weren't the only thing that Patrick Wilson had to worry about. He's had a bit of a brain fog. He can't really remember the further because it got wiped from his memory, and that whole year is a bit of a blur to him. So he goes to get checked out here, and I just thought he'd done it really well in a confined space. It felt really tight and claustrophobic, if you like, and to do that scare scene in such a small area, it was a really good idea, I thought, and I thought he nailed that scene. There's also a moment where he plays this memory game and he's got these pictures hanging on each pane of glass in his house. Every time he lifts one of these pictures up, something is happening in the background there, and it's getting a little bit closer towards him, this sinister image in the background. And I just made me think that Patrick Wilson has really put some thought into these scenes. And, you can tell the heart's there. He's really trying to do something there to scare the audience, if you like, or put them on edge. However, when you do come down to it, even though some of these scenes were really well executed, I do think it's nothing groundbreaking. It's sort of what you expect from horror movies. But for a first-time director, I thought he'd done quite well. And the first 45 minutes of this film is definitely the best half of this movie. I remember hearing rumblings going into this that this film wasn't very good at all. People were hating on it, and I kind of probably lowered my expectations going in there, which helped. But I didn't really see the problems. I was quite enjoying the story we were getting. For the most part, there was some creepy scenes, really well done, all tense build-up, and I was kind of thinking, yeah, I don't see the problem. I don't see what everyone's moaning about. And Patrick Wilson's directional choices were definitely helping along. And Josh and Dalton aren't really on the best terms at the start of this movie. It's just a troubled relationship that they have. And you can tell that Patrick Wilson's character, Josh, is trying to fix it, really, for his past mistakes. And you do feel like there could be a satisfying end for these two characters, especially in the second half of the movie. It kind of gears towards that. And I like that there was some character development between the relationship there. And I was kind of rooting for them, hoping that, they could get on the best of terms, because I've got a young son now, and if he hated me when I was older, that would absolutely kill me. So I felt like I could relate, to these two characters and what they were going through. And I got to give a mention to Dalton's roommate here, Chris. Yes, she's a female with the name Chris, not to get too confused there. But I thought she was a really funny character in this movie. She had some really witty dialogue, some quick, funny answers to some of the dialogue that Dalton was saying to her. And I kind of laughed quite a few times at some of the stuff she came out with here. But the comedy doesn't feel unnecessarily placed. It's not happening in the middle of scare scenes or anything. It just felt genuine to her character. That was her personality. That's the type of funny character that she was. And I quite enjoyed every scene that she was in. She was a little bit of a scene stealer, actually, in this movie. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for the character of Dalton in this movie. There was just no personality to the guy. He was kind of unlikable, and he is the main protagonist of this film, which is a problem. He just looked angry, sad, depressed, down, negative all the time in this film. I just couldn't really get behind him. And the acting that was happening with this character just felt very, very wooden. Like I said, there was no personality. He was just kind of going, yeah, I gotta go in the further now and see what I can find. Yeah. I was just like, come on, put some heart into the performance there, mate. He might as well have been in the coma from Insidious 1 still. Thank God Sinclair Daniels' character, Chris, was in most of the scenes that Dalton was in, sharing the screen with him, because she definitely uplifted the mood and brought a bit of atmosphere to the room. But if she wasn't there, man, I think this would have been unbearable at times to watch, just his character, because I just didn't like him. He was an asshole, in my opinion. Also, the second half of the film really does go downhill quite quickly. The story becomes a little bit messy there, and with just a lot of things happening in a short amount of time, and I was kind of trying to keep up. But I think that is a problem with the whole franchise. And what I mean by that is, even the first movie, which is by far the strongest entry in this franchise, the more I rewatch that film, I do feel like the first half is definitely the more scary part, the more creepier part. It's the build-up, it's the tension, it's the not knowing. But once everything is revealed, I kind of lose a little bit of interest, and it's the same with nearly all these Insidious films. When we go into the further, I just kind of don't care no more, and the movie has revealed itself, and it kind of just loses my interest, and I'm just like, oh yeah, let's just get to the end now. I know not everyone will feel that way, but for me personally, I just like, the not knowing. And unfortunately, that is the main focus of the story for all these films, and I think it's probably the weakest point every time we get there. Also, with Josh and Dalton having their memories wiped, this whole film just felt like it was a reset. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was enjoying the first half and stuff, but overall, when you look at it, it just felt like, yeah, let's just make another Insidious movie, and what can we do? Oh yeah, we'll just revamp the first film there. It's the not knowing of what's happening to Josh and Dalton here, because they're trying to find out what the further is, discovering how they can travel in this realm. And it was just like, oh, I think I've seen this all before. It's a recycled version of the first movie in a way. Now, don't get me wrong, there was some little story points that kind of string it together with the memory loss, but nothing too big. And I wasn't actually buying that it was necessary to make this movie. All in all, the movie just becomes like another generic horror movie. I feel like we're getting one too many of these now. Don't get me wrong, horror is in quite a good place, but every other month we get one of these, like the Boogeyman, and this, and the Pope's Exorcist. It just feels like demonic horror possession paranormal movies are the popular subgenre of horror now, and I kind of wish it weren't. I wish something else was kind of take over there, and we can have a little rest from this, because it's been that way for a while now. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give Insidious the Red Door a 5 out of 10. I do wish Patrick Wilson the best for his next movie and future projects that he takes on, and he can take a lot of experience from this. But ultimately, I just feel like this is a tired franchise now, and we did not need to go further into the further. Okay, at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, a fun fact for Insidious the Red Door is that this is the first installment not to be written by Lee Whannell, and that went to Scott Teems, who previously wrote Halloween Kills and Firestarter for Blumhouse. Yeah, that explains a lot. Okay guys, hope you all enjoyed this review. Please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to this channel if horror is your thing. Leave a comment down below. Are you a fan of the Insidious franchise? Have you seen this movie? Am I wrong? Is this movie, should be rated higher? Let me know down below and I'll reply back to you all, I promise. Thanks so much everyone. You all take care and I'll see you all on the next video.